We have moved into investigation, the second factor of awakening. And I wanted to just explore today two aspects of investigation. One is how it feels really related to the Buddha's invitation of ehipassiko, come and see for yourself. And the second is just wanting to acknowledge that we really can't maintain constant investigation, right? We will move in and out of it in our practice. And I wanted to just give some examples of how we might discern when we are investigating, when we're not, and when we shift out of it, what might be needed. And so first, this invitation of ehipassiko, the Buddha offered his teachings, but really said to us, see, learn, and know the truth of them for yourselves. And that feels so connected to investigation, right? Inviting us into a mindful relationship with what's here and now so that we can learn from it. And that relationship with what's here, really willing to be with, observe, stay with what's happening. I think we all have had experiences where we really see that that's how we learn about what causes suffering, about impermanence, interdependence. Jack Kornfield and Joseph Goldstein put it this way. They said, investigation of the Dharma means not settling for secondhand knowledge or adopting someone else's opinion. It says, I must see for myself what is true. What makes a Buddha is the courage and willingness to look directly and honestly into the body, the heart, and the mind without relying on or settling for what others say is true. Over the years of meditation, it is this quality that keeps practice alive. And I really feel that, right? That investigation does take courage and honesty. And it does keep the practice alive because we're not just kind of mindlessly saying, oh, I know Buddhism says everything's impermanent. So I just, yep, I know that, check, right? Suffering is true, check. We're keeping it alive by daily feeling into those truths and knowing them in the moment as we relate to what's here. And so with mindfulness, the first factor of awakening, we come back to what's happening. We remember to connect and be here. And investigation really occurs when we stay with that, when we're here long enough to really kind of sense and build a relationship with it. And I think this is so important that we're practicing Vipassana meditation, insight meditation, right? We're not developing calm or awareness or mindfulness just for the sake of having it, right? We're really deepening and building these capacities in order to have wisdom and understand how things are so that we can be free. And free from greed, hatred, and delusion. So investigation does require energy, though. It requires energy, attention, and mindfulness. And because of that, and this is something I keep on having to remember, I'm not going to be practicing or accessing the qualities of investigation through an entire sit. And so I was going to share some examples of how I'm working with this just using the anchor of sound. And you may relate as I move through this. So I've been working with sound as an anchor much more recently in the last few years. I find that having it not be right in the body allows me to be with it a little more easily and to take it less personally. And first, I just want to acknowledge there are many, many times in my practice, frequently, where I'm using sound as the anchor and I am like barely hanging on. There is not a lot of energy. There's not enough mindfulness for investigation. I may be kind of hearing a sound and then spacing out, remembering that I'm meditating. Mindfulness brings me back. I maybe receive a sound and then whoop, like I'm gone again. And it's not a time when I'm going to be actually investigating my relationship with sound and the nature of sound. I'm really just kind of settling, trying to develop a little bit of steadiness and concentration and mindfulness. And I try to be really gentle with myself when that's the case. Often it's when I'm tired or restless or overwhelmed, or often it's sort of for the first big chunk of every sit, right? Where it just kind of takes some time to settle. And that is plenty. It's good practice, even if it's not investigation. And then there are moments and times when I'm with sound as the anchor, where the mindfulness kind of brings me back, steadies a little bit. And that relationship with sound and the capacity to stay with it as it moves is sustained long enough that I can start to really see it and start to see my relationship with it, right? Oh, it's coming and going, absolutely impermanent. I can't control it. It's not mine, right? Oh, this thing that I thought is just a car going by has so many layers, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, connected to the road and whether it's raining and all of these layers. I can feel the vibration in my body, right? Sometimes in my chest, in my belly, in my hands, as certain sounds go by. And so there's so much in those moments that I can see. And then there are times when that occurs, little bit of investigation unfolding as I stay with and stay with. And then my mind gets identified or excited with those insights and starts running with it. And you all, I think, know the energy of that, right? We shift from being with to thinking about. And just to kind of recognize when that happens, I'm no longer in investigation. Right? I'm in meaning making. I'm in identification with like, woo, I had an insight. Wasn't that cool? I'm a good meditator. Um, it's similar to what Lee shared about being in nature, those moments when she really is in it, connecting, having a like direct moment to moment experience. And then she realizes that that's happening and right, something else. That's not mindfulness or investigation anymore. And it's fine. If we can see that happening, right, I just kind of slow down, have that be an invitation to settle again, some humor, maybe see if I can come back to the anchor to reestablish some mindful presence. And I wanted to name one other little mini practice with this. It's rare, but there are times when I'm with the anchor of sound, right? I can sustain some presence, mindfulness, relationship with it, some investigation. And moments when that feels stable and sustained enough that I can actually invite myself to widen that relationship to thoughts, maybe that are moving through, right? Because we know at a deep level that all phenomena is the same, right? Sounds are just like thoughts. We can have that same relationship. And so in moments, I can open that up and in that same way investigate and kind of have that sustained relationship with thoughts where I can see how absolutely impermanent, out of my control, not mine, right? They don't define me. I can kind of see that. And that honestly lasts maybe a few seconds before inevitably I get snagged by it or the energy drops. I'm in a story. Thoughts are just so much more slippery and harder to investigate. And then again, right? What needs to happen? Do I come back to sound? Do I brighten up the holding environment? Couple deeper breaths, invite a little bit of warmth and kindness, laughter. And just to acknowledge, right, this is all good practice, but it is certainly not all investigation. And I think it's helping me to just recognize the back and forth nature of investigation. When the conditions are there, wonderful, right? And then in moments when the energy drops, because it does take energy, or when the mindfulness drops or restlessness occurs, we can notice that as soon as we can, come back, remembering to remember to be here. We come back to mindfulness. The meditation teacher, Michelle McDonald, speaks of this often. She describes how our practice is really an ongoing balance between rest and courage, courage and rest, and the importance of kind of discerning when we need each. And I think this is important also because it reminds and helps me see that investigation also, of course, is subject to the laws of nature, just like sounds and thoughts. Mindfulness as well. It's not mine. It's not in my control. It's dependent on many, many interrelated factors. And if I'm attached to it or identified with it, or think I have to be able to access it or practice it perfectly, I will experience suffering. And so, just inviting us to really build our capacity for mindfulness and investigation, these first two factors of awakening, little by little. And when those factors are present, recognize and make much of them. And when not present or available, just knowing we have that capacity to anchor, to build some energy and concentration, to rest and soften the breath and body. We plant the seeds to bring them forth again. We appreciate when those seeds bear fruit. We know it's going to go away again. We begin again and again, just seeing for ourselves that practice. So thank you for your attention. And let's just transition into practice. And give some time for that transition, right? Often I say we're moving a little bit from that cognitive receiving, bit more down into the body, bringing the attention a bit more inward gradually. And just seeing what might be needed as we do that. Some movements, whether those be really gentle stretches, opening up the body. And just paying attention to places in your body that might typically tighten: the neck, the shoulders, upper back. Sometimes it can be helpful to bring hands just to the face or the eyes. Just to sort of connect and bring some kindness and warmth. And you might feel the chair or cushion or ground supporting you so that your body can relax a little bit and trust that support. And see if the spine can be long, if we can feel the rootedness at the base of the spine and the pelvis, and that gentle lift, the crown of the head. If it's helpful, can always invite a couple deeper breaths, maybe sensing the energizing quality of the in-breath and the calming qualities of the out-breath. And as we invite the body to land and settle, we can also really gently invite the mind to land, to settle. Just noticing if there's restlessness, distractedness, planning. There's sleepiness in the body. We don't have to change anything that's happening. Just beginning to see if we can notice, perceive. And if it helps, you can allow your attention to connect with and rest with whatever your anchor is. Just staying with that one thing that's constantly changing, to build a little bit of steadiness, trusting that we can see everything about the Dharma, from staying with the breath or sounds. An invitation to just explore moments when maybe the mindfulness feels a little bit steady and sustained and present. Can you invite yourself to notice the impermanence of what's arising and passing, to notice how it is not in our control, or how the mind might want to control it. And perhaps to notice the interdependence, how it's impossible to separate anything just on its own.